The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Bristol Motor Speedway for the Bristol night race and the cutoff race at around 16. In this race, it provides a lot of chaos, a lot of issues, a lot of tire problems, and another surprising winner. What's going on, guys? This is Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We just got done watching NASCAR Cup Series race from Bristol. A lot of chaos for the Buescher Shops night race at Bristol. Lots of chaos and a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So at the start of the race, we had Eric Almirola lead the field from the outside and Chase Briscoe on the inside. And Eric Almirola would get a really good jump and is able to take the race lead and would dominate the early portion of this race. Then on lap 36 of the race, Ryan Blaney would get up to Eric Almirola and pass him for the race lead through traffic. The first caution race come out on lap 41 for issues for the Fords. Harrison Burton would lose a right front tire, I believe, going into turn number 3. And then JJ also would have a flat right front tire, bringing out the first yellow of this race. We see a little bit of strategy in this race where guys like Brad Keselowski, Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick all would stay out, while the rest leaders would come down pit road. On the restart, you have Brad Keselowski lead the field from the outside with Bubba Wallace on the inside, and Brad Keselowski gets a really good jump as Bubba had a really bad restart, and Brad Keselowski would get the race lead. Meanwhile, Brad Keselowski would dominate the next portion of this race, and then on lap 83, we see another tire problem, and it's for one of the playoff contenders. Austin Cindric, who was really struggling throughout the race at the beginning to begin with, he would lose a right front tire and have to come down pit road as well. Meanwhile, on lap 92, another playoff driver would end up having problems. Ryan Blaney would end up losing a right front tire but running in 5th position, and Eric Almirola would also spin from behind, basically trying to avoid the wreck, bringing out the caution. Then as Ryan Blaney was coming down pit road to fix the damage, he basically would come back, basically try to leave pit road before the tires basically were put on the car and would get a lot of damage on that car and basically would fall out of the contention. We see some guys basically come down pit road. Joey Logano, Justin Haley, Cole Custer, Todd Gilliland, Mondos, they came down pit road while the rest leaders stayed out. Then Joey Logano had to come back down pit road for a loose wheel. So on the restart, Brad Keselowski lead the field from the outside with Tyler Reddick on the inside, and Brad Keselowski would get a really strong run and get the race lead and keep the race lead. Meanwhile, Ryan Blaney would basically come back on track many laps on and would basically be really slow on the track, and eventually NASCAR black flagged him and told him to get off the racetrack. Meanwhile, Brad Keselowski would hold off, I think, a hard charge in Christopher Bell, and he would win stage 1 here at Bristol Motor Speedway. We see some strategy in a race where guys like Chris Buescher, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, they would all stay out, while the rest leaders basically came down pit road. On the restart, Chris Buescher lead the field from the outside with Kevin Harvick on the inside, and Chris Buescher would get a really strong restart and keep the race lead. Meanwhile, a few laps later, we see another caution come out on lap 139 for Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton has some contact. I think it was Austin Cindric got into the back of Eric Almirola, Eric Almirola got back into Austin Cindric, who then got into Harrison Burton, bringing out the caution, just a spin, not a tire issue. Meanwhile, we started hearing some radio problems for some power issues for Mark Truex Jr. and even the other Toyotas. So on the restart, you have Chris Buescher lead the field from the outside with Kevin Harvick on the inside, and Chris Buescher would get the race lead from Kevin Harvick. Meanwhile, Bubba Wallace would then, about 30 laps later, he would come down pit road and basically come to the garage due to having a power steering failure on the car. And then 10 laps later, Ty Gibbs would also come down pit road with another power steering failure as well. Meanwhile, Chris Buescher had the lead and Kevin Harvick tried to catch him around lap 200, but Chris Buescher was able to hold him off. And then we would have another caution come out on lap 196 for Harrison Burton, who once again had another tire go down. Meanwhile, Erik Jones had contact from Ty Dillon, and he would end up spinning as well. So then, when that caution came out, a bunch of people came down pit road. Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Daniel Suarez, Brad Keselowski, among those who came down pit road, while the rest leaders stayed out. Meanwhile, Mark Truex Jr. basically ended up going to the garage during this yellow due to a power steering failure and would basically fall out of the race. Then, Alex Bowman and Denny Hamlin both radioed to the crews, saying they were also having power steering issues as well. A lot of drivers were having power steering problems. So on the restart, you had Chris Buescher lead the field from the outside with Kevin Harvick on the inside, and Chris Buescher will get a really good jump and is able to clear for the race lead. Meanwhile, about 30 laps later on lap 234, we would see Denny Hamlin have some issues. He would lose a right front tire from 7th position, bringing out the caution in this race. So we would see some guys come down pit road. Chris Buescher, Cole Custer, AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, and Mondos that came down pit road while the rest of the field stayed out. So on the restart, Cristobal lead the field from the outside with Chase Briscoe on the inside, and Cristobal would get a really good restart and jump to the lead, and he would pull away enough to win stage number 2 at Bristol Motor Speedway. Then we see some guys come down pit road. Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, Harrison Burton all would come down pit road. And at this point, basically was announced on the broadcast that William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Alex Bowman, pending inspection, would all be locked in to the next round of the playoffs. So on the restart, Cristobal lead the field from the outside with Chase Elliott on the inside, and Cristobal would get a good run and keep the race lead. Meanwhile, Ryan Blaney would basically come back onto the racetrack 152 laps on after they fixed their problems. And then another catastrophic failure would happen on lap 270 for Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch was having a really good run in the race. His engine would let go while running in 20th position, bringing out the caution and ending his chance to make the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. With that, he would go back above the cutoff line, but eventually he would fall out, and unfortunately for the first time in his career, he gets eliminated in the round of 16. So on the restart, he had Cristobal lead the field from the outside with Kyle Larson on the inside, and Cristobal would a good restart and get the race lead. Meanwhile, on that restart as well, we see a major wreck that took place in turn number 4, going to turn number 3. Daniel Suarez would get loose basically into turn number 3 and got into Ricky Stenhouse Jr., causing a major stack-up that involved Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, and Austin Dillon. A bunch of playoff drivers would get involved in that wreck. Basically, 4 playoff contenders would get involved in that wreck, something that needs to be fixed when it comes to this because Suarez had issues. So on the restart, you have Cristobal lead the field from the outside and Kyle Larson on the inside, and Cristobal would get a really, really good jump and was able to clear for the race lead over Kyle Larson. Meanwhile, Tyler Reddick basically met the damaged vehicle policy clock. Then a bunch of drivers would start having damaged vehicle policy issues or got back on track. But Walsh got back on track. Then Austin Dillon got out because of the damaged vehicle policy. And then Cristobal basically kept going and got the race lead. And he was actually dominating while Kyle Larson tried to close. But then with 150 laps to go, Eric Jones, who he saw on the backstretch with a flat right front tire, bringing out, rear tire I should say, bringing out the caution in this race. And also, Austin Cindric came down pit road for a tire issue as well. All leaders would come down pit road, and Kyle Larson would win the race off pit road. And then on the restart, Kyle Larson lead the field from the outside with Cristobal on the inside, and Kyle Larson would get a really good restart and was able to get the race lead. He would basically dominate the next portion, and then with about 113 to go, Brad Keselowski caught up to Kyle Larson and got around Kyle Larson for the race lead and started to pull away. Meanwhile, Joey Logano was having a really strong run, would basically pit with a flat right front tire from 6th position. And then on lap 414, we see Brad Keselowski basically start slowing down the backstretch after dominating the portion. He started slowing on the backstretch with a flat right front tire, but instead of other times, NASCAR doesn't throw the caution, and Bell would end up getting the race lead. Meanwhile, some guys started heading to the garage, Eric Almirola, and then with 65 laps to go, another major issue for another leader. Christopher Bell, who got by Brad Keselowski for the lead, with 65 to go, he ends up having a loose or flat right rear tire, bringing out the caution in this race. Now, luckily for him, with the caution coming out, he wasn't completely out of contention. So, basically, all leaders end up coming down pit road, with Chris Buescher taking 2 tires and basically winning the race off pit road, while everyone else took 4 tires. Kevin Harvick could have a really, really bad pit stop with a loose wheel. Denny Hamlin also had a loose wheel, and Kyle Larson had a bad pit stop, meaning Chris Buescher would win the race off pit road. So this would be the final restart of the race. Chris Buescher would lead the field from the outside, and William Byron on the inside, and Chris Buescher would get a really, really good restart, and he would start pulling away. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell were battling really, really hard for, I think, 4th or 5th position. There was some contact, but not major issues between them. There would be some contact. And then at this point, it came down to Chris Buescher and Chase Elliott. Chris Buescher was on 2 tires not really mattering as much. He was holding on to the lead, but Chase Elliott was catching him in different corners. As they were coming to the white flag of his race, Chris Buescher had about an 6 to 7 tenths second lead. He would pull out pull out a little bit more, but Chase Elliott tried to close, but it would not be enough for Chase Elliott. And coming off the final corner, Chris Buescher, after almost 6 years of not winning a race, 222 races since his last win on August 1st, 2016 at Pocono, he finally comes off the corner, breaks one of the longest winless streaks in NASCAR history, and comes off the corner and picks up his second career NASCAR Cup Series victory and becomes the 19th different driver to win a Cup Series race, tying a record that was set in 2001. Chris Buescher and RFK had their best night as an organization overall. They were really fast. Brad Keselowski led a lot of laps. And coming in at the end of this race, you kind of feel like this probably was going to be RFK's night. And there's been times where Chris Buescher has been extremely fast, but just has not been able to close out the deal. I go back to a lot of the road course races. Sonoma, Watkins Glen, where he's really, really quick. Road America, where he was extremely fast. I go back to Richmond, where he was really fast there and could have had a shot to win. But finally, after all waiting for Chris Buescher to win, he finally gets it done. Wins before the team boss, Brad Keselowski. Massive congratulations to Chris Buescher on picking up victory. Well deserved. The first time that the 17 car has won since 2017 when Ricky Stenhouse Jr. drove that car. And the first time since 2000, and basically first time the Fastballs won a points-paying cup race. So congratulations to RFK Racing and winning their first race with Brad Keselowski as an owner. Massive congratulations and tying the record as well for most winners in a season. So now we're going to talk about the overall race as a whole, talk about basically the race results, and then give me my thoughts on tonight's race. So Chris Buescher picks up the victory. Chase Elliott finishes second. Chase Elliott, good ending of the race considering he struggled in the beginning. They bounced back, got a really strong top 5 run. He's going to need to have these good runs. They're going to have to work on their qualifying speed as the season progresses, especially at a track where it's really tough to pass. But still, a good top 5 run for Chase Elliott. Great run from him. William Byron finishes third. A good run from William Byron tonight. William Byron definitely is an outside championship threat, in my opinion. I think if he can get to the championship 4, I think he's got a shot at winning the championship. Seems like the 24 team is really coming together. Good run from William Byron. Cristobal finishes fourth. Cristobal, I think, probably had the fastest car throughout the race from start to finish. I think that 20 car was just super, super quick and had a lot of speed. It's such a shame that that tire went down that cost him an overall shot at the victory. I think if they don't have those tire issues, I think he has a shot to win. Still, though, a great run from Cristobal in fourth. Kyle Larson finishes fifth. Larson led laps tonight, ran top 5 most of the race. That 5 car just wasn't as good as other cars in the field, including the 17 car and the 20 car. But to get a top 5, especially after announcing that contract extension, good run from Kyle Larson at 5th. Good run for him. Ross Chastain finished 6th. Saw a top 10 run from Ross Chastain. To survive all the carnage, everyone thought he was going to get wrecked out this week by drivers. No one paid him back. Saw a run from Ross Chastain. AJ Allmendinger finishes 7th. Good run from Allmendinger in College Racing. At the end of that race, he was actually running in the top 5, so good to see College Racing kind of ending their season a lot better than it kind of started, and good run from AJ in 7th. Cole Custer finished 8th. I want to give Cole Custer a shout-out. Cole Custer generally ran this race, top 15 most of the race, ran top 10 really in the last 200 laps, and deserves that top 10 finish. So I know I crap on Cole Custer a lot because we need to see better performances from him. Tonight, finally pays off. Good run from Cole Custer. Denny Hamlin bounces back to finish tonight. Hamlin had an up and down race, had a tire go down, and still finished in the top 10. Saw a run from Denny Hamlin. Kevin Harvick finishes 10th. Kevin Harvick had a good car tonight. It just, unfortunately, that pit stop kind of cost him a shot at the win. And unfortunately, Kevin Harvick is eliminated in the round of 16. Really tough break for Kevin Harvick, who really's had an up and down year. Got his first 2 wins since 2020 this year. But we'll have to now just be going out for wins and trying to win races and take wins away from the playoff drivers. But he got a top 10. It's a shame, though, that he's eliminated from the playoffs. Michael McDowell with a solid 11th place finish. Saw a run from him. Justin Haley finishes in 12th. Brad Keselowski finishes 13th. Keselowski probably should have had a shot at winning the race and competing against Chris Buescher for the win. I think he had one of the fastest cars near the end of that race. I don't think that we would see Christopher Bell or Larson catch him near the end if he doesn't have that flat tire. So it was a really bad break for Keselowski considering this had been his best run of 2022 so far. Yes, even better in Daytona 500. I think he performed better in this race than he did in the 500. It's a shame, but I think RFK is really coming along. Chase Briscoe finishes in 14th, did enough tonight to make the next round of the playoffs. So he did okay, didn't do fantastic, but did enough to make it the next round. Corey LaJoie got a top 15. How about that for Corey LaJoie? Corey LaJoie, he's been up and down this year. To see him get a top 15 is great for LaJoie. He finishes 15th. Harrison Burton, despite all the issues with him, he still gets top 20. Good to see him after a rough night get a top 20. Solid run from him. Cody Ware finishes 17th. Shout out to Cody Ware. Was in 13th near the end of this race and was running really competitive times. He really had a good night tonight in that 51 car. Maybe Rick Ware's starting to show some stuff finally. Solid run from Cody Ware. Well-deserved shout out. Todd Gillen finishes 18th. Daniel Suarez basically makes it to the next round of the playoffs by finishing in 19th. Austin finishes 20th. He advances to the next round of the playoffs. Kind of struggling as for both of those guys, but still finished top 20. Eric Jones finishes 21st. Landon Castle finishes 22nd. J.J. Lee finishes in 23rd. B.J. McLaughlin finishes 24th. Tyler Reddick, unfortunately, after finishing 25th tonight, he unfortunately will not make it to the round of 12. A really tough night for him that cost him an opportunity. Ty Dillon finishes 26th. Joe Logano, after his issues, finishes in 27th. Eric Almirola finishes 28th. Bubba Wallace, who I think had a top 5 car tonight, he finishes 29th after issues. Tough break for him. I think he could have had a good run tonight. That 45 looked really, really fast there. It's a shame that he had some issues where it took him out of contention, but he still salvages the top 30. First finish outside the top 15, and first finish outside the top, like I said, first finish outside the top 15 in a while. Tough break for him. Ryan Blaney finishes 30th. Austin Dillon, unfortunately, with his issues, he's eliminated from the playoffs. He finishes 31st. Alex Bowman finishes 32nd. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finishes in 33rd. Kyle Busch, for the first time in his Cup career, he gets eliminated in the round of 16 in the playoffs. I feel terrible for Kyle. It's been an up and down round of 16. He will have to go out there to try to win races before he transitions over to RCR. Tough break for Kyle Busch. Ty Gibbs finishes 35th, and then Mark Truex Jr. finishes in last. So now I want to talk about my overall race as a whole. It can give you my thoughts and score of tonight's race. Honestly, I thought tonight's race was absolutely chaotic. I really don't know where to go with this. I can't say if this is a really good race or a really, really bad race because the racing itself, I'm going to be honest here. I don't think the racing was that fantastic. Sure, there were points in the race that I thought were really, really good, but I don't think this race was absolutely killer. What I think makes up for the race is all the chaos and all the drama of the playoffs and the focus on the playoffs as well. And it really kept you invested in the race. So for me in tonight's race, I'm going to give tonight's Bass Pro Shops night race at Bristol, I'm going to give it overall a 9 out of 10. Like I said, I thought this race was really, really solid and good, but it wasn't as good as last year's race. It was a lack of passing, and Goodyear brought a really just a tire that was way too durable. They brought a tire from Pocono this weekend, which I think did play a factor into it. I still thought it was a good race for sure, but not a fantastic race. So a 9 out of 10 is my score for tonight's race at Bristol. So anyway, that is going to be it for tonight's Cup Series race view from Bristol Motor Speedway. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notification on to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links in the description below for that. And comment your thoughts on tonight's race. What are your thoughts on tonight's race? Let me know below. Let me know your score in the comments below. And congratulate Chris Buescher on picking up his first victory of 2022. Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow on my channel, I'm going to have the final 2023 NASCAR Cup silly season driver lineup predictions, you name it. That's going to be dropping tomorrow. And then on Monday, I'm going to be dropping a NASCAR news video discussing all the NASCAR news over the last couple of days. And then Tuesday is going to be race picks for Texas. Not looking forward to that race. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching tonight's episode. And I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.